All right, let's talk auditing. And now, this isn't just about spreadsheets and calculators. This is about a quest for financial truth. We're going to look at one of the most powerful tools an auditor has in their toolkit to figure out what's really going on.
Okay, put yourself in an auditor's shoes for a second. You're looking at a company's books, and you see this huge number for accounts receivable. So, money they're owed. How do you actually know that number is real? I mean, you can't just take their word for it, right? You need proof. Real outside proof. Think of it like a detective who doesn't just trust the suspect's alibi, they go and talk to an independent witness. So how do auditors do that? Well, let's get into it.
So here's the game plan. We'll start with this whole quest for truth idea. Then we'll define the main tool for the job, the confirmation. We'll talk about why it's considered the gold standard of evidence, check out the auditor's playbook, and then what happens when things go wrong. We'll cover those hurdles and wrap up with the final verdict on the evidence.
You know, for an auditor to sign off on a company's financials, they need evidence. But here's the thing, not all evidence is created equal. Not by a long shot. Some of it is pretty weak, maybe just based on what the company tells you. But the really good stuff, the rock-solid evidence, that comes from the outside world, totally separate from the company. And that's the powerful tool we're going to zero in on today.
So what is this magic tool, this powerful piece of evidence? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the official definition.
Okay, here it is, straight from the auditing standards. An external confirmation. Now, the real power here is in three little words: direct, written, and third party. Let's break that down. The response has to come directly to the auditor. It can't be passed through the company first. It's got to be written, an actual record, not just a phone call. And most importantly, it has to come from an independent third party. Think a bank, or a customer, or a supplier. You put those three things together, and that's what makes this evidence so incredibly trustworthy.
Now, there are two main ways an auditor can ask for this info. The first is a positive request. This is where they ask the third party to reply no matter what, either say, yep, that's correct, or nope, here's the right number. Then there's the negative request. This one's a bit more passive. It basically says, hey, only reply to us if this information is wrong. And as you can probably guess, that negative approach is way less reliable. I mean, just because you don't hear back, does that really mean everything's okay? Not necessarily. So, what's the big deal? Why is this kind of evidence considered the, gold standard in the auditing world? Well, it really boils down to three key pillars of reliability. Let's walk through these pillars. First, the source is totally independent. A bank confirming a loan balance, they have no reason to fudge the numbers for the company. They're neutral. Second, the evidence comes directly to the auditor. This is crucial. It means management can't touch it, can't change it, can't spin it. And third, it's documented. There's a paper trail, whether it's on actual paper or electronic. It's these three things working together that give external confirmations their superpower.
Okay, so we've got the what and the why down. Now let's get into the how. Because auditors have a very specific playbook they have to follow. It's all about control, making sure this evidence stays pure.
The key word here, and you're going to hear it a lot, is control. The auditor has to be in the driver's seat for the entire process. They decide what info needs confirming. They choose who to contact. They design the request so it comes straight back to them and nobody else, and they are the ones sending it out and chasing it down if needed. This control, it is absolutely non-negotiable.
So this all sounds pretty clean and simple on paper, right? But we all know the real world is a lot messier. What happens when things go sideways? What happens when the auditor hits a wall? Or even worse, what if that wall is the company's own management? This is a big one, a huge red flag. Imagine management just says, nope, you can't contact that customer. Or you're not allowed to talk to our bank about that loan. Whoa, that immediately puts the auditor on high alert. So what do they do now? Well, they can't just shrug and walk away. They are professionally required to push back. Step one, they have to ask management why. And not just ask, but really evaluate if the reasons are legit. Step two, they have to think about what this refusal means. Does this suddenly make fraud look more likely? And step three, they have to try and get that evidence some other way, using what we call alternative procedures. Look, if management refuses for a bogus reason, that's a serious problem that could totally affect the final audit opinion. And a flat-out refusal from management isn't the only thing that can go wrong. What if a response comes back, but it was, forwarded by an employee at the company? Suddenly you have to question if it's reliable. Or what if the third party just ghosts them, never replies at all? We call that a non-response. Or maybe they do reply, but the numbers don't match what the company has on its books. That's called an exception. Any of these things happen, and the auditor's job just got a lot harder. They've got to start digging.
All right, so after jumping through all these hoops and dealing with all these potential problems, the auditor is left with a pile of results, some good responses, some weird ones, and maybe some total non-responses. Now what? It's time to put all the pieces together and figure out what it all means.
Basically, every single confirmation request ends up in one of 4 buckets. You've got agreement? Perfect. Everything matches. Then there's unreliable. Something about the response just feels off. You've got non-response, crickets, and finally, exception, where the numbers just don't line up. The auditor's job is to look at the mix of all these outcomes and decide, okay, do I have enough good, solid evidence to be confident here?
And really, this brings it all back home. It brings us back to the core mission of an auditor, which is summed up perfectly right here. Everything they do, every single one of these steps, is all about one thing: getting their hands on relevant and reliable audit evidence. That's it. That's the foundation. It's the bedrock of any audit you can actually trust.
So I want to leave you with this one last thought. An external confirmation, it's more than just a box-ticking exercise. It's really a test of a company's transparency. It's about reaching outside the company's walls to find the truth from an independent source. And when that path is blocked, well, it makes you ask a really big fundamental question. If you can't verify what they're saying with proof from the outside, how much can you truly trust what they're telling you on the inside?